all of our announcement people have got cold feet. She's nervous to talk in front of you guys, Kristen. Angie's in Pennsylvania. Kristen's in Croatia, I guess. I don't know why you go there. I mean, Becky's in Croatia. Kristen's here, but she's nervous. So we can just make her talk. Come on, Kristen.
That helps.
Max, where's Bailey and the rest of the...
Right here.
Okay. Is everyone out from the inside?
Double check. Is that Brandon Jackson?
What's he doing?
He said he didn't want to come here.
Okay, let him not come in then.
Thanks, Ed.
Monks is in the shower.
Can we get thumbs up if the sounds are good? Oh, sweet. From home.
We got some good sound. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You sure there's no announcements, Kristen?
Just welcome everybody. Thank you for here. That's it, really.
Okay, mom's group tomorrow.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Mom's group tomorrow. I'll be on.
Uh-huh.
Sherry will be hosting it as well. So if you guys don't have the link, you can contact me or you can contact Angie. She's still available to ask questions. And it's 11 to 12 tomorrow on Zoom. And we love to see all you moms and some new ones too.
So you're been to a lot of we've had a lot of loss. We lost Angie's father and two gentlemen that have been in the program, and what I'm learning about, we'll get back to that, but it's a learning process of what we're going through and what happens to a family when that is the eventual ending of this journey, or somewhat part of that journey is the loss. And and it brings me back to like being with you all and seeing everything that everyone's going through. And one of the things that I've learned from these funerals is that let me start somewhere else first, and then I'll go back to that. But let's say we walk into the woods, and a human being is walking into the woods, and what they're saying to themselves when they're walking into the woods is, I hope I don't see any bear tracks. I'm walking into the wilderness, I hope I don't see any bear tracks. And they're really worried about seeing bear tracks, and then all of a sudden you come across some bear tracks, and then the next thing you say is, damn, I hope I don't see the bear. And so then now you're no longer worried about the bear tracks, you're worried about the bear. And as you go a little further, you're saying, hope I don't see the bear, and then maybe you see the bear. Now you're no longer worried about seeing the bear. Now you're worried, I hope this bear don't come get me. And then maybe the bear comes and gets me, and now you're not worried about the bear getting you anymore, you're worried about whether it's going to eat you or not. And so that's a long way of saying that we're never scared of what's happening. We're always scared of what might happen. You see? So one of the things that I've been noticing about families is that we fight. We're working on this connection thing, and we're all you guys are in the program and may or may not have been yelled at by your family members. I was trying to think back to the last time I was yelled at. I was thinking of that today, and I was like, when was the last time somebody yelled at me? And maybe if it might have been a girl that I didn't treat right or something. But beyond that, because what we need to understand about this yelling thing and about being, angry with each other is that we're not scared of what's happening. We're scared of what could happen. And part of this thing about trying to connect with all this fear and everything that's surrounding us, and the fear of fentanyl and the fear of death and the fear of image and the fear that we're all going through, and then trying to love each other, it's a long way from me to saying nobody's angry at the funeral anymore. When we're at the funeral, what seems to happen is that all the things that we discussed as flaws in this person seem to be the things that we now discuss about the things that we liked about the person. And so almost everyone gets up and talks about somebody at the funeral, and what they're talking about is the same thing that we were talking about as a flaw when they were alive, but now we're recognizing them for their uniqueness, or we're recognizing them for like, these are the things that I appreciate about this person, and normally they're the same thing. So I've been kind of pondering that as I go to these funerals, is like, how do all these flaws disappear? And I don't think the flaws disappear. I just think that they turn into uniqueness. They just turn into to something else. And I think what happens is the flaws don't disappear, but the fear does. Because now somebody's not afraid of what can happen anymore. That's already happened. And so now we're not based in this fear. I've been trying to deal with people for, that are families that are fighting and mad at each other. And I think that we get it wrong. I think that it's not that. So this group's very specific to somebody a family that's going through this right now, and I want to help them tonight. And one of the things that people don't understand is when somebody is yelling at me, that means that I'm scaring them. You see, they're scared of what could happen. They're scared of what could happen to me or the people around me. If you yell at a kid who's on a cliff and he's getting ready to jump off, you're yelling because of the result. What would happen if he jumps off and hurts himself? Barkley was out chasing the ball today, and I was taking him out to go to the bathroom, and I found myself yelling at him because he was running close to the road, and now I'm angry with my dog, and I'm yelling at my dog, but I'm not really angry at my dog. I'm just worried about what could happen next. And so for me, I realized, well, one of the reasons I don't get yelled at anymore is because I don't scare anyone. My behavior doesn't, people aren't worried about where it leads to. I was thinking about young girls today that have fathers that are very protective. I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, the girls get so offended when a father says, don't wear that. The father says, you shouldn't be seen in that outfit, and why are you putting that on Facebook or whatever? But girls, see, you don't understand how you're scaring them. You don't understand what it's like to be an 18-year-old boy in a locker room and talk about what women are wearing and how disgusting we are as men. You don't understand what it's like to see a girl in high school get a poor reputation for being a, slut or whatever somebody would call her. You don't understand that kind of fear that a father would have, thinking that his daughter could be subjected to that kind of reputational pain and that kind of agony. You don't understand. So now the girl gets online, wears whatever she wants, posts this picture on the internet, and then goes, how dare my dad yell at me? What do you mean? You're scaring him. You're scaring this person. You're scaring because we as men have went through how we do that to women and what we think of women that even wrong or right, what we think of women that dress that way. So this whole thing is happening, and for a long time if I yell at someone in this program, I'm always like, oh man, I really screwed up yelling at someone. And it's not, where we screw up is not yelling at each other. Where we screw up is not saying, hey, you're scaring me. And not being able to articulate to the person why it scares them. See, it was real clear if we're behaving like, let's say a kid's riding and he's got no helmet on and he's doing things on his motorcycle, and then the father yells at that kid. That's clear why the father's yelling, so the kid doesn't understand. Like, how dare you get all mad and yell at me, Dad? He'll go, he gets it, because there's danger, and then his father's trying to stop that danger. But what we're missing is, when we're yelling at each other and when we're upset with each other, we're missing the connection between what is happening now and what we're worried about happening to that person. So it's hard for us all to articulate it. It's hard for a parent to articulate to their kid, listen, because you're doing this behavior, I'm scared that it might end up in this behavior. And it's hard for the kids in the program, for me, if I'm yelling at them to be on their phone, off their phone, it's hard for them to understand how being on their phone could end in their death. They don't understand it. They don't connect the dots between a lack of a recovery program and using something to occupy your time. How that now is the same as almost drug use, and if you can do that, then you can do drug use, and if you can do drug use, you could die. So do you understand how I could be upset with you? And so what we're missing is not the fact that, so I thought for a long time, if I'm in this business and I yell at anyone, man, they shame me for yelling. That's just passion. And for some reason, people have said, if somebody yells at me, all of a sudden it means that they don't love me. Who said that? It means they love you a lot. It means they're scared as hell of your behavior, and they're worried that it's going to destroy you, their family, someone, them, everything. They're worried about the money this is costing. They're worried about everything. And so getting this idea that somehow we've put in a culture that if we yell at each other, we're bad. And then people come here and they go, Art told me not to yell. I don't really think I need to tell you not to yell. I think what I need to do is help you articulate why you're yelling. So the question isn't why is this person yelling at me? Or the question isn't why am I mad at you? The question is where does this lead and why am I so scared right now? Why is this scaring me that it's got me to the point of yelling? And that's what we're doing to each other. The idea that we yell as family and we fight, that just means we're all so scared of each other. We're just trying to protect ourselves from each other. We're so scared. Everyone's sitting here like scared of each other because the behavior is scary. Because if you've seen, we end up at these funerals and we end up, but we need to be able to delineate between and distinguish between, I'm yelling, and then if I can't as a person and I'm yelling at somebody, but I can't really articulate why I'm yelling or why I'm scared, then I might just be an asshole and I got to look at what is really going on here. But I got to be able to try to connect the dots between why am I getting upset and where is the fear here? How could this end? And so I'm watching these families go through what they go through. This relationship game that we're all in, and this thing about dominating each other and controlling each other, and the power struggle, and moms with their daughters and fathers and everyone in this power struggle to try to be right and try to get the behavior corrected, and watching all this really, but no one, I don't know many people today, maybe you did, maybe you kept the eye, maybe you kept the kids in the program, maybe you stopped scaring people. How about that? How about you understand that you're scaring a lot of people, and that if you're getting yelled at and your behavior is getting admonished, and somebody's talking to you about your behavior, maybe that's because it leads somewhere very poorly. See, if you saw this little kid and you were walking into the wilderness with them, and then you seen them walking over to the bear tracks, and you seen them start tracking the bear tracks, you'd be yelling at that kid and tell him to stop. And that's what's going on in all of our families and all of our households. We're just in these fights. And then I see it, and then it's so brutal because we all sit around here and it's so hard for me to do group if we don't talk about people's flaws. What are we here working on, We're here working on everyone's got to fix something. And so if I told you I don't think anyone's got to fix something, then you'd be like, well, Art, you need to get to fixing them. And everyone wants me to fix everyone. Everyone's getting, saying their case and saying this is my case and this is their case, and Art, fix someone. And really it's who's keeping their eye on the ball of them? Today, did you really, can you be honest and say that your consciousness, your awareness spends more time thinking about how you need to behave better, or does it spend more time thinking about how others need to behave better? Which one really is it? And I would argue that not many people go around all day saying to themselves, boy, I should behave better. I'd argue that that's not going on very much. I argue that people are in their car really concentrated on the way that other people need to behave and really wanting other people to behave better. And so we're getting into this whole thing of how do we now, whether as a family, how do we now not do drugs and not have drugs come in, but then how do we connect with each other again? And how do we deal with all these things that we're back here and all these things that we're coming across and each other's behavior, and then how do we just get in long enough? I was thinking about the Democrats and the Republicans today. I think about that a lot. I think about liberals, and my nephew's a real far over here progressive. It's really hard for me to. And then I saw this stand-up comedian today, and he goes, "It used to be somebody would just say I disagree with you." And then they go, yeah, I disagree with you too. But now it's, I hate that effing guy. If we disagree, we hate. And that's just pretty much coming true now. And so I wondered, everyone's mad at each other. The Democrats are mad at the Republicans mad at the Democrats. And so I'm always wondering, how are they scaring each other so bad? What scares it? And how would we connect? And so when we're mad at people, if the Democrats could go, we're not mad at you, we're scared of you. And then the Republicans go, we're not mad at you, we're scared of you. And then you could go to another question. You go, why are they scared of each other? And see, I've had a theory. I was in the shower. That's where I get my best theories today. So I came up with a good theory on why they scare each other. Because it seems to me, and this, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you could argue it might be a controversial statement, but it seems to me that the liberal side is really cared about the way people feel. They're really concerned, and I'm not joking. I'm saying they're really concerned, and that maybe some of these people have been on the other end of feeling really bad and being ridiculed and being victimized, and they're on the other end of that, and so now they want to champion for people to not have that experience. And it seems to me that on the conservative side, what do we got going? Who? Somebody want to go yell at him? Who is it?
Stamp, no.
Who's Stamp yelling at?
The dog. Yeah, way too much.
So we could really mend as Democrats and Republicans, because see, then on the Republican side, I think it's pretty true that the Republicans may have been on the other end of no discipline before, maybe been on the other end of no independence before, and seeing how that ends, seeing how it ends when no one, like for me, I'm kind of a guy that when I didn't get accountable, when I wasn't held accountable, I could really screw up my life. So if I'm not held accountable, I could really screw up my life. So now I kind of put my beliefs on other people. They need to be held accountable, and on and on. And so if we start asking this question, then I don't think connecting as a family is any different than connecting as a liberal and a Republican. And I think I'm working on this myself, is to be able to understand what scares me about that person. And what scares me personally about a liberal is that about people that behave that way, is that they don't really seem to hold people accountable. And I've lived in a world where people aren't held accountable. I've lived in that world. And when we're living in a world that people aren't held accountable, I see mayhem, and I see people go through a big struggle in their life, and I see bad things happen. And then on the other side, they're worried about people's feelings. And I see both sides worried about things, and then they're mad at each other, and they're fighting, but they can never articulate each other why. Why? Why does your behavior as a liberal bother me? Or why does your behavior as a conservative bother me? Or why does your behavior as my daughter bother me? And that's what we're missing. We're missing that connection. So then when we yell at each other, it's this whole thing where everyone just says, I'm not loved. When did you get off saying that? I remember getting yelled at my parents. It never dawned on me when my parents yelled at me one time to think they didn't love me. That's a new thing, by the way. That's a new thing. It was never a case before. Your parents yelled at you because they loved you. That's why they were yelling at you. They were trying to protect you. They were trying to get you to behave different. That's why they yelled at you. It's a new thing now where kids get yelled at and they're looking at their parents and they're like, oh, calm down, Jim. You know, I don't know why you're all excited. It's like, because we know how the behavior that you're doing ends. Maybe 40 years on the planet qualifies me to understand how it ends. And maybe as a person, when you're getting yelled at by someone, you could understand that that person that is yelling at you and angry with you, they're not angry, they're scared of you. And maybe they're scared because they've had experience. And guess what? You're going to have a kid, and you're going to see your kid walk into the stove to put their hand on the stove. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to yell. And if you don't, you're just stupid. And worse than yelling at each other, what I find worse than yelling at each other recently is apathy. I would rather a family in a room screaming at each other than giving up and no longer communicating. I would rather people that have passion for each other, people that are scared by each other, people that love each other that enough that they yell. And that they're getting excited, not giving up. And I think it needs to be important. It is important to understand that when people are upset with you, any one of us in this room, if people are upset with you, that's because you scare them. Plain and simple. It's not because they don't love you. It's not because you're a victim. It's not because of any of those things. It's that your behavior scares them, so we get upset. You see, it's called set and it's called upset. When we feel insecure, when we feel shaken, when our mind is going, because we're seeing a behavior, and we might not be able to articulate why that particular behavior is upsetting us, it might take a while to process. But when we're doing that to another human being, when we're putting their mind in that, and they get upset and they say mean things and they do things, please understand that we're doing that. We're causing that. Our behavior is causing that. And you shouldn't ask yourself a question, why are they upset with me? You should ask yourself the question, why are they upset with me? Why? Where does my behavior lead? What is it that is scaring them? What about me? Or how does this eventually end? And we see young people now staring at their phones, on social media all the time, and you think we're just nagging you? No, we know how it ends. With a full-on inability to handle life in any capacity, or do laundry, or clean your own house, or mow your lawn, or weed the yard, or wash your car. You have an inability to do anything. You cannot live anymore without that. It's an addiction, and it scares people. And so all this stuff, I'm over, like this idea that I'm upset and that's my problem all the time. I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't get upset very much. But when I'm getting upset, it's because someone's scaring me. And you have to get that kind of worked out. That a lot of the kids here, you gotta understand that when a parent looks on Facebook and that they see that another mother has lost their kid, and you're in the same program of that kid, then what do you think they're gonna do? What do you think they're gonna do? You think they're not gonna be scared that it could happen to them? You think they're not going to be scared that they're watching your behavior, looking for improvements so that you don't go back to do the same shit you were doing before? And if we're not seeing any improvements, that's going to be scary, because we know what happens if somebody doesn't make any changes. So here we are. We're trying to, kind of get down with each other again, connect with each other again, and be able to stop this domination of each other, this blame, this constant blame and fight and blame and fight and dominate and not be dominated. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's about domination. You know that every relationship, you know what our mind wants us to do in every relationship? Does anyone know? Our mind, if you look closely at what your mind wants to do in every relationship you had, including relationships with your own family, if you look close, what you'll find is that your mind wants to end the relationship. You know how it'll end it? It'll end it by enough blame, enough righteousness, enough figuring out why this other person is wrong and you are right. And if you get enough information, you'll stop contacting that person. You'll stop going around them. You'll stop mingling with them. You'll stop going to dinner with them, because you get right and end the relationship. And it's important to see that we're not, as human beings, we are here to protect ourselves. We're not here to relate. We don't have a mechanism here about relationship. They didn't say in your head today, you know what I want to do? Make my relationships better with people. It didn't say that today. Notice it didn't say that today, any one of your head. Notice what it did today was it point out at any time someone wronged you today. Notice that it pointed out any time somebody did something wrong. Notice that it judged people all day. Notice that it judges people on purpose. It has to. That's how we survive. Notice that you drive down the road and go, that guy's crazy, that person's stupid, look at that guy's an idiot, that guy's annoying, this place sucks, this store is too slow. All day that's what's going on in our head. It's not going on in our head, love people. Connect deeper. That's not going on. We have to do that. We have to put this thing down, and we have to see what's going on with it in order to be able to actually love, actually connect. We have to get rid of this thing called self. We have to get rid of it, but you need to see it first. We are not each other's enemies. What is the enemy is this thing that's scared in our head that's protecting us from the other person. And now we get into another part of it where maybe this thing does need to protect us from the other person. But we need to be able to identify between a real snake and a fake snake. You see? And a real snake and a fake snake do the same thing inside here. We will yell, we will do that. And so that's where we as people, when we do yell, we have to be able to go back to that person and articulate why it is that we're scared. And when you have kids, you're going to be able to sit your kid down. You're going to be saying, I yelled at you just now. Because, and young lady, I yelled at you right now about what you're wearing because I've been on the other end of it. I've seen the way my friends have treated women that dress like that. And I've seen the way, and you want to call it empowerment, fine. Fine. I'll let you have that, but please understand the dangers of what it could look like and what people could think about you. And I, as a father, don't want no man looking like that, thinking that about my daughter. So understand, that's why I'm angry. I don't not love you. I'm angry because I'm scared. I'm angry because that scares me. You see? And we have to be able to help people that way. We have to be able to articulate what scares us. We have to articulate, like I look at Mr. Kyle Munkers right now, and I'm scared. And I want everyone in this room to be scared because he's going to lose his life. You see? He's sitting here right now, and he's out of it. And that's because he went to work today, and he was unmanaged, and so now he's scaring me. And so we need to actually get our arms around him and protect him. But see, I'm going to yell at him right now. That's what I feel like doing. I feel like telling him to open his fucking eyes and get up and stop his fucking nonsense. That's what I feel like telling him. Because I'm tired of your fucking nonsense. Quit with the drugs. Quit with the bullshit. Quit with your whining. Quit with your feeling sorry for yourself. Wake the fuck up and look at these people. That's what I feel like saying. Because I don't want to go to his funeral. But we're going. Because you ain't changing shit. So here we go. So I ain't mad at him. I'm scared for him. And I love him. Open your eyes, Munkers. Open your eyes. You see? This is how we have to live around here. No, it is. Because they're dropping off. So understand there is a real reason why we get excited inside and get frustrated inside. And it's not because we hate people. It's not because we're filled with hatred and disgust of the person. It's because we love them so much and we're so scared that the behavior they're currently doing is going to lead to another behavior that is going to kill them. And so all you kids that want to play a victim because your parents yell at you, shut up. Shut up. You're the one close. You're the one doing drugs. You're the one in rehabs. You're the one out there ready to die. You're the one their friends are dying. You. Oh, my mom yelled at me. They don't love me. Shut up. Because guess what? Every mom right now that I'm going to these funerals, all they want is a chance to talk to their kid again. They tried everything to keep their kid alive. Everything. The mothers and fathers that were going to see these things, we're talking about families that yelled at each other, that fought passionately, that tried everything and lost. It's a tough, tough time, and there's a lot of fear. And the least of our worries is whether we yell at each other or not. In fact, I'd rather the Democrats and Republicans get in a stadium and fist fight it out. I would. I'd rather they got down on the 50-yard line and fought till the death, and whoever wins, we can move on, please. But that's what's going on, and they can't articulate and be evolved enough as human beings to actually look at what it is. Hey, I understand you as a liberal care a lot about feelings, but I care a lot about people's independence. Do you understand that? And I'll sacrifice someone's feelings for their feeling, for the way they could feel if they were an independent person. So I'll stop providing for that person, and I'll start holding them accountable so that they get the feeling later on of what it feels like to be independent, what it feels like to be off government funding, what it feels like to be buying your own home. And I'll hold someone accountable to that, and along the way I'll call them all kinds of names and maybe get mad at them, and maybe some liberal will try to cancel me because I'm not treating them right in their eyes. But to me, that's love. So I'm sorry, and I get if you're defending somebody's feelings, and I get if that's how you feel. I understand it completely. I'm not mad at you for that either. So we can understand why we do what we do, and we can understand why we're mad at each other, and we can stop asking the question, stop saying, why are you mad at me? Stop saying, why am I scaring you? It's a real quick change. I see you're mad at me. Why am I scaring you? I'm mad at you. This is how you're scaring me. And it's over. We don't have to then be right and end the relationship and give the silent treatment and pout with each other. We can just simply go back to the conversation. And then you can go, well, this is why you're scaring me, and this is why, and this is what it could lead to. Now, if the person doesn't have a good explanation, then maybe the behavior shouldn't be scaring you. Maybe the behavior isn't something that should be yelled at. You see? Aspen? But there is a thing that goes on in relationships in which we're either one, trying to prove that the person doesn't care about us for some reason, or we're two, trying to prove that the person is wrong for some reason. Why are we doing that? And you answer that. Why do we do that? Why are we so busy proving that somebody doesn't care about us? I always found it so weird. I got in the helping industry, and I, for years, it was always a thing that people told me. I would go and say, hey, I have an answer to some of your problems. And then somebody would go, but do you care about me? And I always thought, it's the only industry. You ever go to a knee surgeon and ask him if he cares about you? It's only drug addicts. They want to know if their counselor cares about them. They want to know if the treatment place cares about them. They want to know if everyone cares about them. It's only a drug addict thing. You imagine like your roofer shows up and you go, well, I want you to fix my roof, but first I need to see if you care about me. Or the doctor, the heart surgeon, wait, dude, do you care about me? It's prominent in drug addiction. I want to know my counselor cares about me. He doesn't really care. Art's just about the money. Who cares? If I can fix the roof, who cares if I care about you or if I'm about the money? Who cares? You see? And so people always wanted to prove that I was bad. And that's just, what is that? You see? That's just someone not wanting to end the relationship. That's just somebody wanting to prove that I'm wrong so that they can go about their business and not get help and do the same shit that they've always done. It's an excuse. And it works with drug addiction. You ever hear your drug addict say, that treatment center didn't do it right? You see? They didn't do it right down there. My sponsor doesn't really care about me or whatever bullshit a drug addict. Well, then what'd you do? Well, I went and got high. But you didn't go to a new sponsor? No. You didn't go to a new treatment place? No. I've never even seen one person in a treatment center calling around to other treatment centers and then going there. It'd be like me going I'm at the gym. Angie forces me to go to the gym. So I'm at the gym. I'm doing like a week at the gym. And then I call her from the gym. And I go, this place sucks. No, the trainers suck. They don't care about me. The fucking equipment sucks. The water's shitty. And then she goes, okay, what are you going to do? And I go, I'm going to McDonald's. And then she just finds me sitting there eating a Big Mac, but I didn't go to a different gym. I didn't go find a new trainer. I didn't stay healthy. So then, well, that's what we're up to here. Trying to prove that our families don't care about us, that our mothers were bad, that our fathers were bad. I hear people all the time say, I had a good mother or a good father. What gives you the right to judge? When did that start being a thing? You had a mother. That's it. You get the one you get. There's no bad, there's no good. There's the one you got. And you get a father. There's no bad, there's no good. There's the one you got. That's it. It's like saying I had bad hands. No, you got hands, dude. You don't get to... It's not a debate. Well, my life would have been good, but I had a bad mother or a bad father. Ugh. Okay. Well, you had a father, you had a mother. That's it. I think it's the first time in history where I see kids, I don't remember, me and my friends sitting around in the circle at school, like we get done playing football, and then we all sitting there, you got a good mom? You got a good dad? No. We didn't. Well, that's my dad, dude. That's my mom. My mom show up, nag at me, embarrass me. They go, that's my mom, dude. I didn't get in the car and go, Mom, how dare you do that to me? Oh, she would have just slapped me. You know what I mean? Oh, nowadays you slap. Oh, jeez. Now it's abuse. I mouthed off, you slapped me, and now I'm calling CPS. Oh, jeez. Really? It's bad. Judgment. So here we are, trying to connect, trying to not be scared of each other. And we're scared, so we point out all the flaws. And that's what we're doing. And it's important that we see that that's what we're doing. Because the flaws, we think, lead to something. So we want those flaws to be stopped. And then I see it, and then I go to the funeral, and every single flaw at the funeral is gone. And what I've seen is perfection. What I've seen is the moment this person is gone, the moment the fear is gone now that we're gonna lose them, and we do lose them. They've now turned from flawed to perfect, and that's what we discuss at the funeral, is their perfection. And so the question is why is that so hard for us in real life? Why is it so hard to see perfection in our family anymore? And why is it so easy to see all the flaws? Why is it so easy to pick apart each other and say, you need to get better, and you got to do more of this, and you got to do more of that? And then I come up with a conclusion, because we're scared. And that's all we think we can do for each other. We think if we can help this person get rid of these flaws, they're going to be okay. And we get to have them around. And so everyone's scared. And you look and you see it. It's not why are you mad at me, it's why are you scared? It's this beautiful thing that we just don't understand each other. It's this beautiful thing that we can't articulate why I'm upset with you right now, but if I can process it out, I'll tell you why. If I can process it out, I can go, because this is going to lead to this, and this leads to this, and you know, I go play poker, and I play poker a lot, and I can be really calm here, and I can be calm in the midst of fentanyl addiction. I can be calm. I can't be very calm at the poker table. I can't, and there's a reason, because every time you play poker, it feels like you're fighting for your life. It feels like if you lose today, and it's not losing today that's gonna ruin you. It's this idea in your head that you're gonna continue to lose, and you're gonna lose everything, and that fear all builds up at the table, and I can get mad there and fight for my life there and protect myself and be an asshole, and it's all fear. And that's what you're all going through. This extreme fear with each other. We're just trying to actually have a dinner. You know, my kids smoking weed at 14 or doing this or doing that. They're not doing their schoolwork, and that leads that they don't do their schoolwork. They're going to drop out. And oh my God, my daughter's going to work at Jiffy Lube. You know? There's this gentleman named Bob Forrest, okay? Bob Forrest is on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. So if you ever watch the show, Dr. Drew, Celebrity Rehab, Bob Forrest, and he's huge. Bob Forrest is one of the biggest recovery names there is. He's the recovery guru to the stars. And I got a chance to go and be on the Dr. Drew and Bob show, and went and hung out. And I hung out with Bob a lot, and Bob was doing a talk at a Malibu treatment center. And you know, there's all these, if you've ever been to a Malibu treatment center, it's the epicenter of entitlement. You know, Michael won't come to group today until someone brings him his tea, you know, something like that. And so we're in this mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Malibu, and it is beautiful. The sky, the whole beach is lit up. It's just this huge mansion, and we're sitting with all these 18 to 26-year-old kids. And this is 10 years ago. And Bob's like, he would do a story time and like play a guitar and then tell a story. His stories were awesome. And I had realized like, oh shit, I had to like get sober. I had to work my way up in the recovery field to get here. I had to fucking get known a little bit and get some friends that knew Bob. And then I had to like do all this work to get myself to Malibu, like from just clawing and scratching so that I could sit and listen to Bob Forrest. And I remember getting high and watching Bob Forrest on that show when he was on it. The show would always make me want to get high because they were all getting high. So anyways, I'm watching, and I'm sitting there like surreal, like there's Bob. He's telling this story. Dr. Drew's in the midst, walking around. There's all this stuff. And then there was these entitled kids. And they would get up and go vape and get up and smoke, and they could care less that Bob's talking. They're not even listening, and just, and Bob has his kid sit down, and the kid sits back down from smoking. He's got a soda, and he sits back down, and Bob goes, "What are you doing?" And the kid just, whatever. And Bob goes, "Why don't you just go work for Jiffy Lube and take methadone for the rest of your life?" And now Bob is an agent of the treatment center. And so he's told this kid, "Go work for Jiffy Lube and take methadone for the rest of your life." And what he meant by that was, he got angry. And what he meant by that, your apathy is going to lead to that anyways. So go do it now and stop wasting our time, is basically what he said. Well, Bob got sued and all that, but anyway. But that's a story about somebody with experience knowing how something ends and why we get upset with people and why your parents get upset and why anyone does, and understanding that from the perspective. We don't talk about this very much. We don't talk about the perspective of people that are causing angry people. We don't really talk about that very much. We say people shouldn't be angry. Well, what about the people causing anger? What should they do? Should they stop? Or should they just behave however they want and then have it not be any time ever their fault? See? We kind of took that out. All right, so we're going to open up a little bit. A little coaching if we want. We're going to shut Aspen up. That kid, can you quiet that kid? I mean, Jesus. Tell that kid to zip it. You know what I mean? Wait till I have a baby, man. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, "You guys shut up, my baby's crying." Quit disturbing my crying baby. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be coming to parenting classes.
You will.
Yeah. My embryos are cooking right now, by the way. I don't know what that means, but I got some embryos on the thing right now. Yeah, we get to find out if they're viable embryos, and then we get to pick one and put it in the surrogate. So you got a donor, me, embryos, surrogate, and my last embryos all died. It was devastating. None of you wished me any. None of you said condolences. You didn't even know. You see how I handled it? The loss of 5 embryos. I was like, "Angie, no one even knows." So now we're hoping we don't. But we're hoping we don't lose them. We'll see. It's my last chance. It's my last shipment of sperm. My last chance. It's the good stuff, though. I sent them the good stuff. But that's it. They told me because it took me a year to get viable sperm, and I don't have another year in me, and then it takes another year to get the pregnancy. And I started this process 2 years ago. I don't have it in me. Pretty soon I'll be with a walker. I'm already gonna be 70 at his graduation, so if he graduates. I'd be out doing meth. Reaping what I sow. Going to some guy like me to get some help on how to get my kid off drugs.
Free oil changes after 70.
Yeah. Dad, you want to go out to dinner? Yeah, it's got to be before 4:30 though. Dad, you coming to my game? Oh. Is it after 7? I gotta watch the news at 7. Gotta watch some Fox News, little Weather Channel. Go to bed. Yeah, who knows? No, maybe I'll still be just like this.
Maybe.
Yeah. You know? Huh?
I said it'll be you, only more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a question
Yeah?
up there.
Okay.
Sherry's got a question.
Good.
Hey, so can I first give a shout out and yell at Kyle Munkers. I love him dearly, and stop being
What's he
stupid.
doing?
He
Yeah.
left the room.
He left the room. Okay, well, somebody smack him in the head and tell him to stop being stupid. So,
Yeah, we can't. We keep making the mistake of letting him leave this house, and
oh, jeez.
yeah.
Tell ya, I tell ya. Well, tons of people love him, and we don't want to go to his funeral. So, you said the mind wants to end relationships. Is it the mind or is it the ego?
I call
Or
it,
just say more about that. I don't understand.
okay. We all have equipment, and our equipment is protective, and the voice in our head. Somebody could call it ego. I call it all the same thing, really. When it's up to something, you know, when my mind is kind of narrating what's going on and at peace, and you know, coming up with ideas and thinking and having, you know, what I'm gonna have for dinner and everything, then I would probably say that's just my mind doing its thing. And when I'm dealing with relationships and listening to my voice guide me, I would say that that's self. We call it ego, whatever. And self is this protective equipment that if you really got to see what it's up to. And the self doesn't want us in relationships. The self wants to protect us from pain. So the self is going to actually point out anytime somebody is doing things wrong and we're annoyed, and the self's job is to protect us. So that's the voice of protect. That's what happens. So what happens when people are behaving poorly is the self comes in to protect us, and it protect us from a bad future that we could have, or to protect us from not being safe or whatever. And so the self takes over, and that's why we yell, and that's why we fight, and that's why we do this, because it's really just this thing where I have fear, and then this voice in my head begins to protect me from that fear, and it begins to do kind of like sonar on the world. So when I'm in fight or flight, the self comes in and kind of finds out why you're the problem, finds out what out there is the issue. And in our relationships, our heart is open for the beginning. And notice as we get in the beginning of the relationship, we keep this real open-hearted, light feeling that we have in the beginning of these relationships. And notice in almost every relationship, whether when we meet a new friend, or we have a new boss, or we have any type of new relationship, notice that it's light and free. And then notice over time, this thing starts picking apart the behavior of the other person. Just notice that it does that. It picks apart our bosses. It picks apart our coworkers. You go to a new job, you get along with all your coworkers great in the beginning. And then it starts picking apart your coworkers. It starts picking apart your boss. And it starts picking apart, and that's why the honeymoon period ends. And we don't feel that open-hearted loveness anymore, because we start feeling our own insecurities, and we start feeling our own fears. And then the self is protecting us from those fears. So the self says, if they behave differently, I won't feel this way. So the self begins to protect us from those feelings, and it begins to blame the other person. And so that's just the automatic thing, is that until you as a human being take responsibility for your fears as your insecurities, meaning this relationship, so do you guys, what a relationship is? See, I am not in a relationship. Me and Renee right now, we're in a relationship, but it's not Renee and it's not me. You see, that's not the relationship. The relationship is the space between me and the space between me and Renee. So the space, it's a relationship is the space between. And so when we begin to dump our insecurities on that space between, when we begin to dump our fears out there in the form of, I'm upset with you because, you see, we say, I'm mad at you because, and we address the behavior. We don't say, I'm upset right now because I'm insecure and scared about this. And this is the proper mechanism for relating, is to be able to say, I'm upset right now because I'm scared that this thing that you know, but and so what happens is those insecurities just begin to mount, and they come in the form of blame. And so every time I don't feel good about myself, it's because you did that. And that's why we want to end the relationship is we start getting the idea really clear that if we could get away from that person, we're somehow going to feel better about our life. And that starts being, if we get away from the boss, if we get away from these coworkers, if we get away from this girl, if we get away from this friend, if we get away from this family member, all of a sudden we're going to be better off. And so that's the natural evolution of a relationship. And for us to re-engineer this thing and say, you know what I want out of this relationship? I want to express into this space everything I've got. I want to show this person, I want to get rid of my insecurities, and I want to use this space as when there's friction in this space, when I'm upset, it's my insecurities, it's not their behavior. And so if we can do that, and we can say these are my insecurities rather than that's I feel this way because it's your behavior, we start re-engineering this whole thing. And that's the work. So the work is to relate to people in a responsible fashion that says, when I'm upset, it's because I'm scared. When I'm upset, it's because I'm insecure. And that way I can use that space. That's what relationship is for. It's a space for progress. And not progress by me explaining to you how you need to behave differently and then you doing it. A space for progress for me. How could I grow without other people? How could I grow without relationship? What would I use as a barometer? I like when I see people that are into self-help and all that kind of shit, and they come back and they go like, I've really changed. And then you're like, who says? You see, we don't get to say that. We don't get to say how we're progression and how our self-help stuff has changed us. That's the mirror of the relationship. If we're really changing as human beings, other people will say that. Other people will say, wow, you've really progressed. You used to handle things like this, and now you're handling like this. You used to blame me a lot for everything, and now you don't, and on and on and on. And so that's what I'm saying about this, us relating and connecting in families. It's really not us relating. What it is more is using the space as a barometer for my growth. Using the space for my diminished upsets due to my diminished insecurities. The reduction of fear. And if I can reduce, and if I can acknowledge that it's not your behavior, but it is my fear, I can then grow. But if I never acknowledge that, and I say every time I'm mad at you, it's because of the way you behave, well, then we're in a stalemate, because then the other person says the same thing. And so there we are. Then the relationship isn't a space. It's a space for rightness. And that's what's really going on in our relationships. Just people would rather be right than in love. Trust me. This is how it is. No, not many people are talking about how in love they are. They're spending most of their time going to work, talking to their friends about how right they are about their wife, how right they are about their brother, how right they are about someone in their family. People would rather be right than in love. And if you do see some lunatic and he came to work and he goes, I just want you to know, I love my wife, everyone would tell him to shut up. That's not normal, dude. Back it down. Here, what we do is we discuss why our wives are all messed up. Do you not get the memo? You know? It'd be like, this dude's gay or something. Like, I love my wife, and all the other guys are like, that dude's gay for sure. You know what I mean? Come to my buddies, we're all sitting around having dinner. I just want to tell you guys that the space between me and my wife is just this place where I express my love for her. They'd be like, dude. That's how crazy, that's how bad it is. But if I came and said, my wife's a nag, she's always hounding on me, she wants me home at 10 because I've cheated on her 100 times. And, they're bewildered why they have to be home at 10, whatever it is. Listen, I'm a man, but we're bad people. We are. We're just bad people. You should hear how we talk here. This house is a terrible place of sin. It really is. It's horrible. It's horrible. I see some innocent girl posting their beautiful pictures on Facebook. And, oh, no. Wait till these guys get a hold of that. What else? See, I had to start at some point acknowledging that my upsets and my fears and my anger was all fear. Was all these insecurities, and not just fear like snake fear, but fear. And then I have to, if I'm really getting angry with a person, in order for me to get off it, in order for me to not blame them for how I feel, I have to like trace it back to why. You know, me and Angie, when we got together as business partners, we weren't husband and wife. We were never even considering it. We were business partners for 7 years, and we worked together. And what would happen is she would do something. One time, she 1 or 2 times, she did something that was detrimental to our organization. I'll be honest. We got in a fight one time about religion. She started wanting religion to creep in, and I got really, really angry about that. Not that I'm not a believer in God, or that's my own thing, but I didn't want it to alienate any drug addict that we were helping that didn't believe in that. And so I got really upset with her, and I was yelling at her, and she hung up the phone. And I learned over time that I had to calm down, and then I had to process out what got me scared with what she was doing. And so then I would call her and I'd say, "Don't hang up, don't hang up." And I would go, "Please, just let me tell you why I'm scared." And that worked. And that worked. And that's such a better way to like be able to, but you have to be in that time where you're not on it with them and you're not blaming them for how you feel. And you have to be in that mode where you're able to consider yourself and you're able to consider what it is that's got you so scared. And it has to make sense, you see? What happened, Aaron? Cookie?
He's doing it for you.
See, to me, I'm sorry, but to me this work of it's the most fascinating work. You know, there's a difference between selfishness and interest in the self and interest in what I'm going to take a look at in order to improve. And for all you know, the youngsters here, what's going on, Bailey?
Huh?
What's going on?
I was.
Is he okay?
He can't be.
Yeah, what do you...
He's
Yeah.
being weird though. So.
Yeah, he is. So, for all you guys that are in the program, and I know, you know, you might come here and this is about an interaction, or it's about looking good, or it's about whatever you're doing to see the boy or the girl that you want to see, or whatever. But in reality, this is, to me, recovery is fascinating. And it's what are you recovering from? And what is the enemy? And understanding that the enemy is this thing right here in your head that you're up against. And it's not that person's behavior, and it's not that person's behavior, it's you. And that ultimate feeling of being ultimately responsible and being able to now look at me and keep the ball on the eye of me in order to flourish in my relationships, be responsible for my relationships, get what I want in my relationships, be able to have power with people again. And it's this beautiful process if done right. It's not just not using drugs and getting a job. It's not just arguing and telling people why they're wrong. It's actually finding our own thing to look at. Any more questions? Come on, guys. See, I don't know. I must just teach so well. You're all just going to go home and, you just go home and like, we got it, Art.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like how you said that you'd rather have a family yelling at each other than the apathy or the silent treatment. How do you, and I remember from your teachings before, like you're saying, you want to be a spectator or you want to be in the court,
Mm-hmm.
How do you get, the other half to be on the court with? And
Here's the big one. Okay, because we have to distinguish my goals in a relationship. I argue over here that your goal, if not watched, and this is a very important part of tonight, and I need you guys to understand that this is, explore the possibility that what I'm saying is 100% true. Just explore the possibility in your own day. And what I'm telling you is that if you look real closely at yourself, you are trying to end the relationship. And by end the relationship, I mean end the work. So what you're trying to do as a human being is get to a point where you can be right that there's nothing that can be done. That's what we want to do. We want to get to the point where we feel we've cleaned up our whole side of the street, and now it's just on them, and they won't do anything different, and I'm done, and it's going to be like that, and that's just how it's going to be. Okay? And the goal of your relationship, because it was unchecked, it meant that the goal of the space between was not for you to create. That all along, your goal was to be right. See, what you're hanging on to in a relationship is that there is some behavior on the other side that needs to change. That's what everyone's hanging on. They're just hanging on to that. We can't let go of that as human beings. Try. The relationship will only get better when they make these changes. You can't get away from that. You didn't go, man, today I'm going to improve all my relationships by me being a better human. We don't do that as humans. So we really believe and we hold on to this idea that over there across the aisle, when they make those changes, then the relationship is going to be good. And we can't let go of that, even if we say, well, all right, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do all my part. No, you're not. You haven't let go of that idea. Now, everything that you're doing is hoping that they change that one thing that you don't want them to do. So inevitably, you didn't believe that your changes needed to be made. So your changes were to make sure that what do you want in the relationship? So here you go. What do you want? You want the person not to be apathetic?
No, well, I'm just saying that if I want to be in it, I don't mind arguing, but there's no, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to have the relationship, but then they're like a spectator, so I don't.
So the question is, there it is.
How do you get them to engage?
How do you get them to engage?
Well, but you haven't thought about that.
Well, I
Ah,
don't know.
no, the story of the relationship is they won't engage. That's the story, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's how it's going to be. They won't engage. You're going to be right. They won't engage.
No,
So now, what if the story of the relationship is I must find a way for them to engage? When does that end?
how do you do that?
That doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter because the story of the relationship is now on me. I will get this person to engage. I will have power. I will be able to do it. See, if I'm in a relationship with any of these kids, when does it stop? When do I get to be right about them? They won't fill in the blank, what they won't do. And you would go, Art, I don't care what they won't do. Make them do it. Right? And if I came to you all tonight and I go, guys, your kids are here, but they won't, what could I say? Everyone go, well, the money stops now and you're out. But that's the same with all our relationships. See, it isn't about that. It's about this space for you. The space for you to give everything. And at every point, whenever I have this conversation with people, they don't comprehend what I'm saying. It never ends. So if I can say this person is apathetic and won't, it comes in this. This person is just apathetic and they won't engage with me. That's a racket, right? That means I'm saying that because I want to get off the hook for the relationship. Okay, now if I say it like this. God, I want to connect with this person, but they're apathetic and they won't engage with me. What do I do? Now you've thought about it. But see, when I said you haven't thought about it, you haven't thought about it. So almost every complaint that you can tell me in your relationships, every single one of them, I guarantee you haven't. Your big idea in fixing it was to tell them to behave differently, to ask them not to be apathetic. The one way to ensure that the human being will be the same is to tell them how they're behaving. You can't go up to him and go, stop being so apathetic and please engage in this relationship. He's going to go, nope. You have to come at that from a different angle. How do I come at this? You see? So what happens is being responsible for a relationship, what it means, this is a whole different ball game What it means is I'm responsible for everything in this space. This whole my side of the street thing, that is said by victims only. You see, if I'm going to say I got to clean up my side of the street, that means that there's an expectation that there's bad behavior on the other side and they need to clean it up. That's not true. You're being right. So let's say I want my neighbor across the street to clean up his yard. So then I arrogantly go out in my yard and I start sweeping it so he can see me sweeping it. And I'm looking across the street like, look at me sweeping my yard. When are you going to sweep your yard? You see? I'll fix my yard. That's fine. That's a given. Clean up your old side of the street? That's a given. Why are we even talking about that? Of course. Why were we talking about not doing that? Why is your side of the street dirty? Of course we have to clean up our side of the street. But that doesn't mean anything about them. Now, what do I do this for? I clean up this because I want to play in this space. I'd like to come over and encourage your life to be a little better. I'd like to come over and find a way to get through to you. I'd like to come and find a way to approach. I'd like to give everything I got. I'd like to use this space in my relationship. See, at the end of my life, I'm going to be used up. I'm going to be laying on the floor like an empty windbag with nothing left. Because I'm not going to quit and say, I was right and you're wrong and our relationship is over and I don't have any work to do. I'm going to keep going. And that's the deal. Right now, whatever your complaint is, right now, about any relationship in your life, just look. Write down the complaint. Right there, that's your reason for not expressing in that relationship. That's for the work to stop for you. So any complaint that you have about your relationship, that's where the work ends for you and you went, it's on them now. There's nothing I can do. And that's what we are designed to do. Because going forward, working, admitting our own wrongness, that's pain. That's agonizing. Not being right, that's painful. You see? So I see it all the time. But when do I stop, Art? When do I stop giving everything? When do I just admit that they're fucked up and they're not going to change? And that's the same story everyone wants to tell. There is no point. There is no point. There's no point you stop. The point you stop is the time you're right. And the minute you're right, you're not in love. Do you notice that when we're in love with people, they're right? Everything about them is right. We're in love. And do you notice that when we're hating people, they're wrong? So if you want to be in love, they have to be right. And if you want to live in anger, they have to be wrong. So isn't it important that if I want to be in love with my family, they got to be right? And I got to work to make them right? And I got to work to understand them and make them right and make them perfect and make them whole. And if I don't work to do that, then my mind is just going to make them wrong. And then I'm just going to be angry and I'm going to be hateful. And so I have to find out why they're right. And just like I said about the Democrats and Republicans, God, they should try to love each other. They should actually try to do that. They should try to figure out why they're right and not wrong. And we'd have a better country, and it would be that simple. It would be that simple. Just two people, and that's the same thing with families and the same thing with everything going on. Try to figure out why your family member's right. Oh, I can't. They're wrong. And there it is. Yeah, but you're a prick. No. I behave perfectly. Do you know when anybody tells me stories of their relationship problems, they're always the innocent bystander?
Yeah.
I go, what'd you do? And they go, nothing. Nothing. I was just like, no, nothing. And I go, okay. Always the innocent bystander. Just, oh, they yelled at you? What'd you do? Nothing. They just started yelling at me. I go, that's fucking nuts. That's nuts. I've never had that happen to me. Like I've never had someone just start yelling at me for nothing. Not in the history of my life. Happens to these kids like every other day. Why did he punch you in the face? Huh. I had a kid named Dennett. I went over to the house. He just got punched in the face by one of his housemates, and he was throwing a fit. His name was Dennett. I went, Dennett. And so they called me over. Art, so-and-so punched Dennett. And I get over there, and I looked at Dennett, and I sat him down on the couch, and I go, Dennett, did you do anything wrong? And he goes, no, nothing. And I go, Dad, are you going to get punched in the face tomorrow? And he goes, no. And I go, how do you know that? You just got punched in the face today and you did nothing wrong. I said, so by your logic, it could happen to you anytime. And so we know. We know what we're doing. We're just avoiding it. We know why we irritate people. We know what we're doing. And that's a tough one because people aren't easy to enroll. So you're saying to me, I got somebody that's tough to enroll. Okay. Well, what do you got to do? Enroll them. There's no other. I always tell kids in the program, you want a better boss, be a better employee. You want a better friend, be a better friend. You want a better mother, be a better son. You want a better coworker, be a better coworker. It's that simple, and there is zero other way. You want a better mailman, be a better house. It's that simple. Everything works that way. You want a better teacher, be a better student. But we are so stupid as humans that we think the way to have a better mother is to tell our mother to be better. We think the way to have a better boss is to complain about our boss to the coworkers. We think our way to have a better coworker is to complain about our coworkers to the coworkers. We think even worse. To have better coworkers, I know what I'll do. I'll go home and complain to my husband about my coworkers. That should do it. We believe that. To have a better government, we believe that we could complain about the government and get a better government. It's just all we do now. But really, in reality, we all know the truth. If we want anything better, we have to be better. We all know that's true. It just hits. You want a better neighbor, be a better neighbor. It goes on and on and on and on. Responsibility. The highest form, the coolest word there is. Ultimate individual responsibility. Just the coolest thing there is. That and consciousness don't even compare to any other words. They're just like, boom. It's the highest form of like higher power. There it is. I get to observe myself. No other thing has that I can observe myself and my behavior. And two, I can be aware of my own behavior, which is pretty cool. And if I'm aware of my own behavior, I can actually have a chance at it getting better, which is even cooler. And then if I take responsibility for everything in my life, I have a chance at making everything in my life better. But anything I'm not responsible for, I can't make better. But I spend most of my time telling people how it's not my fault. I spend most of my time telling people how they should change. And that's why recovery is so good. It comes in this twofold thing. It comes with higher awareness and more responsibility. And if you want more recovery, those are the two ways to get it. Just higher awareness and more responsibility. And that's what you'll have if you come back in 2 years and you'll say, Art, my life got way better. It'll be because you have higher awareness and more responsibility. And I'll go, I know. You did it. It's on you. Anything. Mark and Nancy are here. Nice to see you. I hope it helped the people I was trying to help tonight. I did it I'm tired of families being in chaos. I'm tired of them being mad at each other. I'm tired of them being wrong, making each other wrong. I'm tired of being the judge in the case. I get calls on both ends. Kids in the program and parents, they're calling me on both sides. They want a settlement, a judgment in the settlement. Miss, young lady, you've been awarded. As the plaintiff, you've been awarded. You're now right. Your mother is wrong. You win. Yeah. I don't know. I'm asking them now for a check of $500,000 to be dropped into your bank account for all the pain and suffering. And we've got a replacement mother for you from here. She doesn't give a shit what you do. She just pays you. Yeah. Yeah. Got a new dad coming too for you. That old one sucked. You know? Ah. Well, I hope I've ridiculed Monkers enough and yelled at people, and I will just end in this, and I'll just tell you guys, you ain't gonna see the flaws at the funeral. And whether you're a kid in this program gonna bury your parents, whether you're, you know, we lose someone along the way, the flaws are not there at the funeral. And why are they so prevalent now? Why are we so fixated on them now? Why is it, and that's a question. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm saying that's a question of like, just look and see why. We are. I am too. We're fixated on each other's flaws and the bad behavior. And we have to do something to kind of re-engineer that. We have to like be aware of it, and so we can diminish it a little and find some love for each other along the way. So, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.